Welcome to Scale Her Up, the show for female business owners and leaders who want to grow profitable, sustainable businesses without burning out. I'm Dr. Brenda Hector, a business growth specialist helping women develop themselves and their businesses so they can achieve their goals and enjoy the lifestyle they dream of. In each episode, you'll hear inspiring stories, honest conversations, and practical strategies to help you start, grow, or scale your business. If you're new here, hit follow so you don't miss an episode and come and join our Scale Her Up Facebook community to keep the conversation going. And in conversation today, I'm really pleased to have Lisa Ironside, who I've known for a while through our networking groups that we're part of. Lisa is the owner of the HR department, Aberdeenshire, and Bagga Moyo Consulting Limited. So welcome to the show, Lisa.
Thank you, Brenda. It's lovely to be here.
I hadn't realized until just before I clicked record that there's two businesses there. So tell me about Bagamoyo Consulting and the HR department, Aberdeenshire.
When I left the corporate world, Bagga Moyo Consulting Limited was my first venture into owning my own business and running it. So that was my opportunity to put some structure around the passion that I have for inclusion, for culture, for diversity and belonging. And that was back in May 2022. So it's been running for a few years. And then the HR department, Aberdeenshire, was something that I felt was going to be a real bolt on to what I was already doing from a consulting perspective, because it really plays into the practical HR support that I found that business leaders were asking for when I was dealing with them.
Okay, the HR department is a franchise, is that correct? Yeah.
That's correct.
Well, yeah, like myself with Action Coach, that will have I totally understand where you are with that. And Bagamoyo, first off, I want to know, how did you name it? Where does that come from?
I have family connections in East Africa. So I've always had a fascination with Kenya, with Tanzania. And Bagamoyo is actually a Swahili word, and it means lay down your heart. And because my work was very much around how do you bring human centered leadership, how do you be yourself and still run a business? For me, it just felt like the absolutely perfect word for the business. So that's where it comes from.
Lay down your heart. I love that. I love that. So, in both, I don't know, do we take them separately or are they one entity really for what
They're
you're?
they're one entity really, because the Consulting Limited business is a limited company, and I trade as the HR department Aberdeenshire now. But I still complicated. I still do have some clients that I've had since 2022 that are very much with the Bagamoyo Consulting brand, and then obviously through the franchise I've taken on small businesses. So they operate in sync, if you like.
So that's fine. So now I can ask the question, what do you do for your customers? Yeah. What is it that you bring? What problems are you solving for the businesses that you work with?
So we are bringing HR consultancy and employment law advice to small to medium-sized businesses. So typically my client is somebody who doesn't have an in-house HR professional, is doing HR work off the side of their desk while they're trying to run their own business. And often we get approached when there's a problem, when there's something that's urgent that's got to be fixed. And then the relationship can often deepen and expand from there. But typically, we're solving a people problem that is really important for them right there and then. And we offer that on a retained basis. So lots of our clients are retained clients who can phone us up 9 to 5 every day about any of their HR or people problems. And they know that they're getting advice that is backed, and also that we can support them if in the horrible event that there's an employment claim and they have to go to tribunal, our advice is backed by tribunal insurance as well. So it's a huge peace of mind for a lot of small business owners. Because in the world of AI, there's lots of people who are keyboard warriors and know how to get a grievance on the go. It's really important that our clients are able to feel secure and safe in their employment law advice.
You're a listener. You know that my audience are women who are looking to start or scale or take a senior role. What advice do you? This is probably such a wide question, and it's going to be difficult for you to narrow it down. But if there was three things that you could advise someone who's hiring people or starting on scaling their business and bringing in new recruits, what would you advise them? What's the best things they can do so that they start off correctly and safely and
Yeah.
What's the word I'm looking for? Compliantly.
Compliantly, yeah. So the first thing that I would suggest is almost not to do is Google an employment contract. The reason for that is I see so many versions of some things that people have cobbled together by downloading a free template from Google. I had one client, for example, who was in the hospitality business who thought he had a 0 hours contract for his flexible seasonal staff. Turns out they had him on a director services contract with a restricted covenant in it that said they couldn't work for 12 months after. That's what people tend to do, is they try and get it done as cheaply as possible or free from the internet. Engage with somebody, and that doesn't necessarily have to be on a paid basis. It could be through one of the membership companies. There are a lot of paid membership organizations out there that will help you as well. But be compliant from the start. Ask for support. Don't try and do it by yourself. I think the other thing that is really important for business owners is be clear about who you are as a business and what you stand for. The story that you can tell to a potential new recruit coming on board is really important. And I think that's ever so more important now when we have so many generations in the workplace who are all looking for different things and are motivated by different things. The newest generation are looking for a company that stands for something, that's got purpose, is doing something that's really important to them. So if you haven't got a compelling story to tell about why they should join your business, then you're competing with another company that probably can do that. So compelling purpose and being able to sell your story when you're recruiting somebody. And then the third thing I think that's absolutely crucial is you need to be able to have good, open conversations with your staff on a regular basis. Often when we're drawn in to support our clients, it's because something's gone wrong. It's because they haven't had the opportunity to give feedback, that they've left something festering for far too long and it's becoming impossible to deal with. So for me, the key thing is open, honest conversations, and don't be afraid to tackle something that feels difficult, but it's better to tackle it up front.
I love that. And I'm going to come back to the first one. Makes sense. Yeah. Get a professional and do it properly from the start. Don't wing it, because it could cause all kinds of problems. The second one, explaining your vision, your mission, your purpose, your culture at the beginning when you're bringing people in. I guess that makes sense, so that for the people who want to join an organization that stands for something. But also, if they've joined somewhere and then it turns out to not be what they thought it was because that's not
Mm,
being communicated to them,
yeah,
that can cause problems with performance, work satisfaction. It can cause
absolutely.
challenges within the team, and one bad apple or one apple that just doesn't fit can cause problems with everybody's performance and everything. So
Yeah.
I see that really important.
Definitely. And I think there's probably another angle to that as well, is that quite often organizations are really good at spinning who they are, what their purpose is, and what they stand for. But it's just words
Yeah.
on the paper. They've got values, but they don't stand by them. And so then you've got that dissonance that exists, is okay, I thought I was joining one thing, but the reality is something completely different. And that's something that resonates for me from the corporate world. And probably one of the reasons why I left the corporate world was because of that. We say one thing, but we do another.
Oh my
Um,
goodness, me too. Yeah, I've been there. Yes. Yeah. And then the third thing, what was your third thing? It's going right out of my head.
Honest, good, open, and
Yes.
honest conversations all the way through.
Communication. It's so important, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. And I think that right now, small businesses are probably a little bit frightened around what's happening because the Employment Rights Bill is pushing
Ellen Ack. Yeah.
pushing it in the favor,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's pushing the favor towards employees and their rights are becoming even more wide reaching. And sometimes that means that employers start to worry about, does that mean that I'm stuck with these people and I'm going to have to put up with them forever? And the answer is no, absolutely not. You can remove people from your business if you do it in a fair, honest, transparent, compliant way. And that's why it's so key for me when I'm coaching my clients, is that it's about honesty, transparency, and communication constantly. If you do that, there's nothing to worry about with this employment rights bill. Nothing to worry about at all.
Do you know, Lisa, I meet so many businesses who decide not to grow because they're worried about the implications of bringing on staff.
Yeah.
Isn't that, is it, that's, oh, it's a tragedy to me.
It is a tragedy. I get it as well, though. I was in that position up until last year. I was on my own up until 2025. And I thought, no, I have to do this. I have to take this leap and take on my first member of staff, or else I am just going to sit just being me. And the thing that put me off, it wasn't, I'm an HR professional, so it wasn't the HR side of things. It was the responsibility and the accountability for people again. And I think when you've, again, harking back to corporate life and having big teams and managing stuff and everything that comes with it, I wasn't emotionally ready to deal with that because I think that it'd been such a kind of a burnout experience towards the end. It's like when I just need to be me on my own for a little while doing what I love. And then once I'm good and I'm ready, then I can give to people again because you do have to give yourself to your team. Be a
I
great leader,
suppose,
I think.
I suppose it's very different as well to be at the top of a team in a big organization where there's a lot of other others around you and above you and to the side of you, whereas it's you and your business and your staff. There's more responsibility actually.
Yeah, there's more responsibility and there's more pressure, whether it's real pressure or not, but there's pressure. I think you need to make sure I need money in my business account to pay for this person.
Yeah.
Everything that I'm doing is to sustain the business for my income, for their income. So it just brings a next level, I think, of kind of perhaps concern that people will have. But if you don't do it, then you're never going to grow.
The concern maybe, but also excitement.
Yeah.
How much more
No.
can you do
Yeah.
with a team member or a team with you?
Exactly. And I think for the most part, when people set up their own businesses, it's because they've got a passion for something that, whether that's a product or a service that they want to deliver. It maybe isn't necessarily because they've got all the answers themselves. And so bringing that person in just opens up the opportunity, I think, for you to hand off perhaps the stuff that you don't enjoy so much and really focus on the growth of the business and how you can expand it.
So let's talk about your business then. So you left corporate, you started Bagga Moyo and added in the HR department. Why did you? What was the reasons for starting out on your own?
They were quite practical to begin with, I think. So I was made redundant in 2022. And I, from a personal perspective, didn't really want to be getting another big senior role. I didn't have the opportunity to go and move anywhere. I was really lucky with the role that I had. A senior role in Aberdeen doesn't come up that often. And so I knew that if I wanted to do the same kind of work, earn the same kind of money, then I probably would have had to take care of it myself. Otherwise, I would have had to move. And that just wasn't an option for me. So I thought, let's give that a go. I obviously had a decent redundancy package that gave me that cushion, but I was also really ill at the time. And so I was made redundant whilst off sick. And so I still had that recovery time. So that gave me a really long time to sit and think about what do I want to do? What is it that's going to make me happy? Don't let yourself be burnt out ever again. You want to have something that gives you a flexible model that allows you to recuperate, to build a business, but at your pace. That was the thing that was absolutely key to me was it had to be at my pace. So it was a slow burn in that first year, but purposefully. And once I started to pick up a couple of clients and I was really enjoying the work that I was doing, I was like, okay, I can do this. It wasn't just I think maybe when I first started, Brenda, I was still thinking, this is just to get me over this line
Oh,
right
yeah.
now. Yeah. Maybe I'm going
Yeah,
to go back into the corporate world. This is just a stopgap. And I got approached about a year in to be headhunted for a similar role from when I was at my last organization. So heading up culture and talent and inclusion. And I was like, who's it reporting to? Started to ask all the questions. I was like, actually, do you know what? It's not reporting into the level that I expect this type of role to be reporting into. I said, but I still think I can help you. I said, would you be interested in me putting in a proposal for how to move this topic forward, but me being a consultant? And they were really open to it. So I ended up, that became one of my biggest clients and biggest revenue generators. But it was also the line in the sand where going, you're never going back to a corporate environment again. You can do this without having to be employed by the big boss.
it comes up a lot, doesn't it? A lot of business owners that I talk to, they're going, "Oh no, I'm unemployable now." because they've had that freedom and the control of their own
Yeah.
and destiny, if you like. And
Yeah.
yeah,
No, I'm not sure I could go back. And I've spoken, I mean, like you, I network all the time and have coffee catch ups with previous colleagues, network, etc. And I remember speaking to one person who had just started on their journey as well. And I was talking to him about the fact is that unless it was this big, awesome brand that I really truly believed in, I would never go back to a corporation. And he said, the minute that you get a call and you think that brand is the one that you want to go and work for, you phone me and I will tell you that it's not what you want to do. Because he'd gone through that experience where he'd been tempted back into the corporate world and it was the worst decision that he ever made. He said, sometimes you think it's the right thing for you, but you just need someone to remind you of all the reasons why you set up the business in the first place and just stay true to them.
I've been there myself actually,
Mm,
approaching the renewal of my action coach license, and this job appeared. I became aware of it, and I thought, oh, I could do that,
mm,
especially with everything that I've learned. I could do that, and would that be easier than running my own business? A bit less stress, and just go to work and leave again. And I interviewed for it, and
mhm.
the day before, I was interviewed for an award. And actually, having those two and being asked about what I'm doing now and how it just reminded me, actually, this is definitely where I want to be and what I want to
Yeah,
be doing. Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
It's good to get those reminders.
yeah. What have been the challenges that you've faced then as an entrepreneur then, Lisa? What, because it's not all great.
It's not all rosy.
What have
No,
been the difficult
absolutely.
parts?
I think the first thing is the fact that you have to do everything and you have to learn everything pretty quickly, that you're a marketer, that you're an accountant, that you're a compliance person, all of it, and it's all on you. So that was a bit of a steep learning curve. I think recognizing that. I think, again, going from being in a 60,000 people organization to being a one person on your own and not having the people day to day just to talk to. So I learned really quickly that I had to maintain my network and I had to grow it. So even though in those early days it would have been really easy for me just to hide away and hibernate, I made sure that I was building up my week with connections, with coffees, getting out and meeting people, asking people for advice who had done it before. That was really important to me. So I think not staying isolated, having all of these new things to learn. And I think those were probably the two things that were constantly on my mind. And because I gave myself the grace to do it slowly, again, because I had that cushion, I think that gave me more confidence. Because in that first year, I was like, okay, you've got time to figure out how to do your bookkeeping on zero. You've got time to figure out how to do social media posts, etc. So I think from that point of view, not rushing was the best kind of advice I could give myself to give me that space.
That's brilliant. So, what have you learned about yourself?
Gosh, what have I learned about myself? I guess I've learned that I am determined. I've learned that I'm hugely resilient because at the same time as going through the setup of the business, I think everything probably went wrong for me that year, or let's say it didn't go wrong. There was pivot points for me. I was ill. My marriage was ending and I had been made redundant. So I was going through a huge amount in that first 12 months. So I realized that I was hugely redundant, I was hugely resilient. Then in the second year, when I took on, no, yeah, second year I took on the franchise. A month after I took on the franchise, my mum was diagnosed with cancer. And so I didn't get the opportunity to scale up that business as quickly as possible because my priority was family. That had to be done. And the franchise model were fantastic with me. Said, look, you will be ready to go when you're ready to go. So I think from that perspective, again, I was just hugely grateful around the choices that I'd made. Because I think if I'd still been in the corporate world, whilst they were still pretty flexible, the ability to take time off to look after yourself, to deal with your own health, and then support a parent who was going through something. I don't think I would have had the same flexibility to do that. So for me, I learned about resilience, I learned about gratitude, I learned about determination, and I think I learned about purpose, Brenda. It's like, why am I doing this? And just kept on reminding myself that I've always been driven by a purpose to do things, and I'm getting to do the things I love without anybody stopping me. And that became the biggest motivator, I think, for me.
I love how you've turned that round, because when you started telling me that, I was thinking, if somebody's listening to this is thinking, why would I do it if when all these things go wrong and you still have a business to run? But actually, the fact that you had the business meant that you could actually deal with these things. And yeah, it's
Yeah. I think what I would add into that is that I also recognize that I probably came from a very privileged place from that point of view. I am aware that not everybody has the same cushion of perhaps having that redundancy package to fall back on, or the ability to jump straight into work with existing networks, etc. I don't take that lightly. I was a very fortunate person from that point of view, but I think that, yeah, the ability to just be grateful for the flexibility at the end of the day to drive your own destiny, I guess, is something that is the reason for being in business for me anyway.
absolutely, yeah, I couldn't agree more. Who's been your biggest supporter on your journey?
Goodness. I would say one of my best friends, Kim, who also runs one of the other franchises for the HR department. We've worked together and known each other for about 15 years. She was the one that said, buy the franchise, go on, it's going to add to what you're doing. It's not going to take away. And she's been a huge supporter emotionally on the business side of things. And she's 3 years ahead of me. So again, a great role model. She's trailblazed with her business. And so she's always there to fall back on any questions, advice, etc. But we're doing it for different reasons as well. That's what's so brilliant about this franchise model is that you make it as big or as small as you want it to be. And you can tailor it to the things that you love more than. So Kim's business is focused in a completely different area to mine. We all give the core HR employment law advice, but if we want to go after coaching projects, then that's going to be me that will get after that. If she's going after recruitment project, she'll go after it. But there's still that ability to collaborate. And I think that's maybe a misconception that maybe small business owners maybe have as well, is that once you're in it and you're on your own and you've got your small business, that you are on your own. But actually, there's synergies everywhere across businesses. One of my former colleagues has set up her own business as well, and we were just collaborating on something last week. So that entrepreneurial mindset that exists in other businesses means that I felt that people want to partner and they're more likely to want to come together for the greater good of both businesses, if you like. Yeah, she's definitely been a key supporter of mine. And my family as well, they're hugely supportive. My mum is always there for me. She's my biggest cheerleader. And so, yes, family are a big support too.
Yeah, really important, isn't it?
Yeah,
Just
no, it
in
really is
something.
important to have that support network around you. And I think not to be scared to reach out when you need the help.
Ask for
Um,
absolutely.
ask for the support. And for me, and I guess maybe it's just because I don't know if it's the age that I'm at and the maturity that comes with that, is that I'm not scared to say when I've messed up. I'm not scared to say when I don't understand something. If I know somebody does something better than me, I'm going to ask them, how did you do that? And that's the one thing I've found in the community, particularly around Aberdeen and Aberdeenshire, is that there's always somebody that's willing to share their expertise, their lessons learned, just over for a cup of coffee. And so it's brilliant to be able to have that as well.
Talking about support, you mentioned your first team member. I'm just
Mhm.
wondering, and you mentioned like you have to do it all when you start out. What's that team member? What's the first person that you've hired? What do they do? How do they support you?
Yeah, they are my HR consultant. And when I positioned the role with Chris, I said, look, I want you to come on for the most part to do the HR delivery because he's a seasoned HR professional and loves the employment relations side of things. But I also want you to help me grow the business. So I didn't advertise for this position. He was somebody that I knew about, and I knew that potentially he would be looking for another opportunity. So I just went and spoke to him, and I was really honest about it. I said, look, I don't know what this business is going to look like in 5 years. I said, it might be 10 times bigger. It might be the same size. It might be that I want you to take it on in 5 years' time. But I will always talk to you about it, and I'll always be open about it. Is that something that you would be interested in? He said, yeah, that sounds quite exciting. So, that for me is, I still don't know what I want to do with the business. Sometimes I think I want to retire when I'm 55 and I'm going to go to the south of France and I'll do a little bit of coaching on the side and that will fill my cup up. But then sometimes on good days, when you've found a lead, you've converted it, you've brought them on, and the business is growing, you're like, I want to do that 100 times over because of the buzz of it, of closing the deal. So yeah, I go through phases, Brenda, in terms of what is it that I want to do. And I just try and take it year on year. But with Chris, it was a case of come in, help me with the delivery stuff so that I can really get after growing the business.
So you don't know what you're going to do in 5 years' time, but where are you taking it, let's say, in 2026? Where are you going now in the shorter term?
So in the shorter term, I want to increase my revenue again. We've had great growth in the last 4 years, and I want to keep that steady. I've moved away from the reliance on one big client. I've got a number of clients, but I did have one big revenue generator that was disproportionate, I think, in terms of the time that they were getting from me. But that was a conscious choice again to really scale up the business so that I had a solid bank account and that I could afford to take on staff. So you take your chances with these sorts of things. So for me, what I want to do is I want to grow the retained business in the next 12 months so that I can take on more who are getting the employment law advice. That is to make sure that we've got steady income from a revenue point of view for those clients that allows me to then go after the big coaching projects or the culture change projects. So I'm quite selfish from that perspective, Brenda, is in the sense that I want to grow the business to serve the passion that I get from the work that I do. And Chris knows that. So if I grow the business from a retained client perspective, then I know that there's always time for the passion projects, like the podcast, like the leadership development programs I want to do for women. Those sorts of things that's what gives me my passion, my joy. And then the HR delivery business is bread and butter and really exciting because we're helping small businesses. And that's a real buzz for me as well, because you see the impact you're having with the employment law advice with small business.
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned the podcast.
Yes.
Yeah. So tell us about the podcast. It's not out there yet, is it?
The trailer is out there.
Uh-huh.
I'm banking up my recordings of my guests so that I can do more of a big bang and there's more to come. So the concept is there, the trailer is out there, and the first 4 guests are signed up to do their recordings. But for me, so the podcast is called Lay Down Your Heart. It comes from Bagga, Moyo, and it really does focus on the topics that I have the greatest passion for. So I talk about inclusion, what that means to be included, whether that be in society, whether that be in business, whether that be in a company. It talks about the strengths that we have and why I believe that heart-led leadership is a great business growth model, because I feel that if you create an environment where people feel valued, feel trusted, then they'll do their best work. And then it talks also about music, because that's the other passion that I have. I think that music has great lessons for us in terms of how we can guide ourselves, what's important to us. And so we talk inclusion, we talk leadership, we talk music.
Tell me about your music passion then. Do you play?
I play, yeah. So I played the piano since I was about 8 years old. So that was the first instrument that I learned. I play the bagpipes. Not so much anymore. My lung capacity isn't quite what it was when I was 14. But yeah, I play the bagpipes. But then I just listen to music constantly. There's never a dull, there's no quiet in my house. I'm listening to music all the time. And when I do my leadership development courses, we have to collaborate and create a playlist at the end of the 3 or 4 days when we're together, because it really gets people to connect with who they are, what's important to them, the words, the music. It tells them something about themselves, and that might be about what they stand for, what their leadership style is now, what they want it to be in the future. And I think it's a really good leveler. And everybody loves talking about music, I think. Well, the people that I like talking about music.
That I hadn't thought about it as being a leveler, but yeah, wherever you are socioeconomically or geographically, or yeah, yeah, you can connect
You
music.
can connect in some sort of way and you can learn from one another. And the last leadership development course that we ran, it was fantastic because it was such a diverse group. We had, I think, maybe 7 nationalities in there. And we challenge them, say, look, don't give us a piece of music that's important that you think that we're going to know and recognize. Choose the one that resonates for you and what the story is around it. And so again, that ability to appreciate diverse perspectives came through music because there was about 5 or 6 pieces that nobody had ever heard before. And everybody walked away with a add to playlist. So it's fascinating.
That's lovely. And yeah, just connecting music with business and yeah, getting people to lay down their heart through their music.
Yes,
I
yes.
really like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope so. We'll see how it goes. I think for me, I'm hugely optimistic. And I think that if you're passionate about a topic and you've got enthusiasm for it, you're drawn to the people who want to talk about those things, aren't you? I've got a few people, as I said, lined up, but then I'm also getting recommendations. So when I've been talking to people around what the concept is, they were going, oh, do you know who you should talk to? It's X, Y, and Z. So I've now got this wish list of people that I'm using as an opportunity to introduce myself to, say, hey, would you come on my podcast, please? And that's the other thing that I'm starting to realize about the podcasting community as well, is just how supportive it is and how collaborative it is. You come talk to me, I'll come talk to you. And people give up their time so easily, which I really appreciate.
And I really appreciate it also. Thank you very much for coming on here. I'm just thinking, one of the questions that I ask a lot is, if you could go back and meet your 18-year-old self, what advice would you give her?
Believe it or not, this is probably a conversation I have with myself on a regular basis because you'll be the same as a coach. Is that the amount of self-reflection that you do is part of your growth as you coach. So I think there's a couple of things. One, it would be, don't give a shit about what people think about you. Because at 18, I would have been riddled with anxiety and constantly wanted to be a people pleaser. And I have to tell you, that probably just didn't disappear until I was probably at least 40. And I think pivotal moments in your life that change you is when my dad died. I recognized so much more about myself at that point. But yeah, don't care what people think about you
I
because
like worded it first, actually. You said, don't give a shit about what.
yeah, don't give a shit. Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
what I've written down.
I think that's hugely important. So I think that's the one thing I would tell myself is just you. Do not conform. Be who you want to be. Share what you want to share. Don't be constrained by what you think is normal. And I think that's certainly true in a corporate environment, is that you see, particularly as you climb the steps of leadership and you get to that senior leadership role, and you see everybody else wearing their high heels and their handbags and their fancy clothes, you don't need to look like that to be a great leader. You can just be you and people will love you for it. I could have used that for the first 20 odd years of my career. So yeah, back yourself, I think.
Oh, that's fabulous. Really good advice to anybody, whether they're 18 or 50 something. Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
So, what advice would you give another woman following in your footsteps, starting a business and looking to scale?
So I think for me, first and foremost is believe in yourself and just go for it. Even if you've got the seed of an idea, really just nurture it and really go for it. Find your people. You know, that there are so many people out there in your network that are going to be willing to give up their time and speak to you and share their perspectives. Believe that you're worthy of those conversations. You're important enough to ask for that sort of support and guidance. And then I think from a business perspective, I think for me, the idea that I always have in my head is think land and expand. So for me, I always wanted to land my client by solving the problem for them. That is the first and utter the thing that you're trying to solve the problem, give them the service that they need. And then you're always going to be able to expand because you're going to deepen your relationship. You're going to get to know them even better. You're going to build the trust. And once that's established, then growth is going to come naturally. That's, again, me, I'm a bit of a hippie. I'm maybe naive from that perspective, but I genuinely believe that. If you nurture that relationship and you know that business inside and out, and you know what makes them tick, what's going on for them in their personal lives, if they're willing to share, you are going to be the person they come to because they trust you and you know that you'll deliver for them. So that's probably the kind of mantra that has worked for me, might work for others.
I love that. That's brilliant. Yeah, land and expand. Yeah. Lisa, we've run out of time. I could have talked to you all day. I say that
I
to everyone.
know.
I love hearing everybody's stories. Is there anything else that I haven't asked you that I should have done? Anything you want to add to the conversation?
No, I don't think so. Your questions have been great and really made me pause and really think about how did I get where I am? Because often you don't sit and do that, do you? You're on that treadmill. Yeah. And so it's always nice to just reflect back on why did you do it? How did you do it? And what's next? The what's next still to be answered, I think, Brenda, but always thinking about it.
Watch this space.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be following your trajectory. Yeah.
Thank you.
So thank
Thanks
you
for
so
your
much.
time.
And
I've enjoyed it.
I'm glad. I'm glad. Yeah. And thank you to you for listening to Scale Her Up. If you're
It's
in,
brilliant. You've got so many different people on there as well. So when it comes to there's the first thing that I recognize actually, Brenda, was when I look at podcasts is what is the diversity of the people that you're talking to. And there's just everything for something for everybody on your podcast, which is brilliant. So kudos to
yes,
you for that.
yeah, lots of great women doing so many different kinds of things. Yeah, this
Mm.
is the first episode you've listened to. Please go and have a listen. I might be around 140 by now. So yeah, by the time this one goes out, we should be around there. Been doing it for 5 years, so there's a lot to listen to. But my interview style's not quite so good back in the beginning, so don't go too far back.
Ever
So,
learning.
and for you, the listeners, thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, follow the show and leave a review. It helps more female business owners find us. Come and join our Scale Her Up Facebook community to get support, accountability, and connection with women who get it. And remember, only 1 in 3 UK entrepreneurs are female, and men are still 5 times more likely to scale their business beyond £1 million in turnover than women. If we started and scaled, no, not if, when we start and scale our businesses to the same extent as men, we'll add £250 billion to the UK economy and create millions of jobs. So, ladies, you can do it, and your business can make a massive difference.